All right, welcome to The Explainer. So, we've all seen AI create those incredible images and write text that sounds, well, surprisingly human. But what if I told you that's already yesterday's news? Yeah, a much bigger shift is happening as we speak, where AI is moving beyond simply creating things to actually doing things for us. Let's dive right into this new frontier.
So the core idea here is a move from what we call generative AI, the kind that makes content, to what the industry is now calling agentic AI. Think about it like this. Instead of AI being a tool that you use, it becomes an agent that acts on your behalf. It completes tasks with a level of autonomy that we just haven't seen before. And trust me, this isn't just some minor upgrade, it is a whole new ballgame. To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 4 parts. First up, the big shift. We'll define what this creating to doing thing really looks like. Then, we'll zoom out for the view from above to see the billions, and I mean billions of dollars, pouring into this. After that, we'll get practical with the automation toolkit that's making it all possible. And finally, we'll get to the most important part, the human equation, and what it all means for us. All right, let's jump in. Section 1, the big shift. So what does it actually mean when we say AI is moving from creating content to taking action?
Well, it really all comes down to this idea of agentic workflows. And look, we're not talking about a chatbot answering a single question here. We are talking about an AI that can plan and then execute a whole sequence of actions, all on its own, without a human needing to guide every single step. It's an integrated system that could say, find a new sales lead, send them a personalized email, and then pop that info right into your company's CRM, all by itself. This slide really breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got generative AI. It's a tool, right? Like a paintbrush that you have to actively use. But on the right, you have agentic AI, which is more like a partner that executes an entire process for you. The whole focus shifts from just making stuff to actually getting stuff done. It's the difference between asking your assistant to draft an email and asking them to go plan and run an entire marketing campaign. See the difference?
So now that we know what this shift is, let's talk about why it's happening so incredibly fast. For Section 2, we're getting the view from above. Because this isn't just some theoretical concept, it's a full-blown gold rush, and it's being fueled by absolutely mind-boggling amounts of cash. The data from the latest Stanford AI Index report really tells the story here.
I mean, just look at these numbers. In 2024 alone, private investment in AI in the United States hit over 109 times billion dollars. To give you some perspective, that's nearly 12 times what China invested and a whopping 24 times the UK. This isn't just seed money for research anymore. This is the serious capital being used to build the entire infrastructure for this new agentic frontier. And here's where all that money is going. Almost 90% of the most important AI models last year came from commercial companies, not from universities. And that tells you everything you need to know. The race is now firmly in the hands of industry, and industry is focused on one thing: practical, action-oriented applications.
But here's the wild part, the other side of that coin. While investment is skyrocketing, the actual cost to use these powerful models, it's plummeting. A 280-fold cost reduction in less than 2 years. That's almost unbelievable. It means this tech is no longer just for the giants like Google or Microsoft. It's becoming accessible to everyone, from a startup founder in their garage to a huge enterprise. And that, my friends, is what's pouring gasoline on this fire.
But as that access grows, wow, is the competition getting fierce. The performance gap between the best AI models is shrinking, and it's shrinking fast. A year ago, there was a pretty clear leader. Today, the top models are almost indistinguishable from each other in terms of performance. The frontier is getting very crowded.
So, all this money and all this competition has led to an absolute explosion of new tools. And that brings us to Section 3, the automation toolkit. Let's pop the hood for a minute and see what's actually powering this whole agentic shift. The developer community has this great way of thinking about this in 3 distinct layers. So at the very bottom, you've got API automation. Just think of an API as a clean, official doorway that lets different software programs talk to each other. The next layer up is browser automation. Now, this is for all the systems that don't have that nice doorway. The AI literally opens a web browser and just clicks around, mimicking what a human would do. And then sitting right on top of it all are the agent workflows we've been talking about. They're the brain, the conductor, deciding which of the lower level tools to use to get the job done.
And here's just a quick look at some of the key players in that toolkit. You've got these incredibly powerful reasoning engines like the models from OpenAI. You have specialized tools for coding and analysis like Claude and Cursor. And then you have the orchestration platforms like N8N, which are designed specifically to piece everything together into those powerful agentic workflows. Each one of these is like a specialized piece of a much larger puzzle.
But choosing which tools to use actually creates a real dilemma for people. Do you go with a super simple, no-code platform that's easy to get started with, but gets really expensive and kind of restrictive as you grow? Or do you invest in a more powerful, low-code or code-based solution that gives you total control, but, it requires a lot more technical skill? This is probably the central debate happening in the world of automation right now.
And that brings us to our final and honestly most important section, the human equation. How is this explosion of agentic AI actually affecting us, our jobs, and our societies?
Well, the first thing you notice is this massive global divide in how people see all this. I mean, look at these numbers. In China, 83% of people are optimistic that AI's benefits will outweigh the drawbacks. In Indonesia, it's 80%. But then you look at many Western nations, and that optimism just craters. It drops to 40% in Canada and only 39% in the United States. It's pretty clear that our cultural context is really shaping how we view this technology's promise or its peril.
But here's the thing. Despite all that skepticism, the data on AI's impact is becoming undeniable. It is boosting productivity. And what's really fascinating is that it seems to be leveling the playing field, helping lower-skilled workers catch up to their high-skilled colleagues. And this is driving incredibly fast adoption. A huge 78% of organizations now report using AI in their business. That's a massive jump from just last year.
And this gets right back to that user dilemma we talked about, but on a much deeper level. This quote I saw from a Reddit user, Reed Stacked, just nails it. They wrote, "With Zapier, you're renting someone else's logic. With N8N, you own the whole workflow." Think about that for a second. This isn't just about cost or features anymore, is it? It's really a philosophical question about ownership and control. Are we content to just rent our business logic from big tech, or is it better to build and actually own our automated systems ourselves?
And this whole question of control, it feeds directly into a growing challenge: trust. Because even as more and more people use AI, our confidence that companies will protect our data is actually falling. It seems the more powerful and autonomous these systems become, the more we start to worry about our privacy, about bias, and about what's really happening behind the curtain. So how do you even begin to navigate all this? Well, here's a pretty simple 3-step roadmap. First, audit your workflows. Look for those high-volume, repetitive tasks. They're usually the low-hanging fruit for automation. Second, define governance. You have to establish crystal-clear rules for data privacy and responsible use before you start. And third, invest in literacy. You've got to train your team, because these powerful tools are, at the end of the day, only as good as the people who are using them.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Just using AI is no longer a competitive advantage. The real edge, the thing that will separate the winners from the losers, comes from mastering the orchestration, from strategically building these agentic workflows to solve real business problems in a way that is efficient, secure, and ultimately trustworthy.
Which leaves us with one last, big, thought-provoking question. We've seen AI master the art of creating. We're now watching it learn how to act and to do. So as these autonomous agents get better and better at doing, what's the work that's left for us?
That's all for this explainer. I hope this gave you a much clearer picture of AI's new frontier. Thanks for watching.